to Fightzone. The blood, the sweat, the tears, the sweet taste of victory. Join the revolution.
You people can tell me to stop.
No, this is Jermaine reporting for the Pound for Pound Boxing Show. I'm joined by flyweight boxer Tommy Frank. How you doing, mate?
I'm all right, thank you. Thanks for having me on. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate your time. Tommy, obviously, I want to talk to you about, obviously, you're in camp. How's that going?
Yeah, everything's. I'm always in camp. You know, we say, you know, we don't really have training camps. You know, it's just the lifestyle that I like to live all year round. Always in the gym, always training. You know, it's all I really do. To be honest with you, so you know, training's going very well. What are we, just under 3 weeks away from fight night now? So it's all systems go, and you know, everything's flowing nicely in the gym. I'm just very, very excited.
So you're fighting you're fighting on the 18th of September live on Fightzone in Sheffield against Matt Windle for the flyweight British title. Do you know much about Matt and what dangers he possesses in this fight?
Yeah, I do actually know Matt. I've known him like on the boxing circuit, you know, for quite a while. You know, firstly, like, he's a very nice guy. You know, he's a nice guy to talk to and stuff. And you know, we did some round sparring. You know, so before our last fights, you know, he came up to Sheffield and we did some round sparring. So that was good. And you know, he's a very game. He's a very tough kid. You know, I think he's boxed on the road a lot. You know, and maybe he's not really got the rub of the green, you know, on the away shows and things. So I don't think you can take too much away from his record. You know, you shouldn't really look into records anyway. I don't think. But you know, I'm expecting a stiff test. You know, I think he's going to be game. He's going to be tough. He's going to be well up for it. You know, this is a big opportunity for him as well as me. So you know, he's coming into my backyard. So I'm preparing for the best Matt Windle. But you know, I think that's in turn, I think that's going to be, you know, bring out the best of me. So yeah.
Obviously, you mentioned you're going to be fighting in your own backyard. How good is it to be fighting in your backyard, and how important is it to have a home advantage going into this fight? Do you think it'd be very important going into this fight?
Do you know what? I suppose I'm very fortunate. I mean, I've had you know, this will be my 16th pro fight, and I've only boxed outside of Sheffield once. I think I had one fight in Leeds. You know, and that was just like a 6-rounder. You know, I think maybe my 8th fight or something like that. So all the rest, you know, I've been boxing in Sheffield, and I've probably topped the bill, I'd say 5 or 6 times. You know, so as a boxer, you know, fighting out of Sheffield, you know, that's brilliant to be able to say. And obviously, I've got a great support, you know, selling tickets, and you know, and that's enabled me to actually do that, you know, that many times. So I'm very, very, you know, grateful for everyone's support in Sheffield. And you know, I mean, I suppose it is a advantage, but I think, you know, no matter where you're fighting, I think once you get in that ring, you're in that ring. You know, it could be Sheffield, or it could be Madison Square Garden, or could be a working men's club in Leeds or something like that. You don't. I think once you're in the ring, you're in the ring. So, but I mean, it's always good to, you know, it fills you with pride. You know, when you're walking out in front of your home city, and you know, everyone's screaming for you, and you know, bought tickets to support you. It's a really good feeling. So you know, I think that aspect, you know, that always helps a fighter. But you know, in turn, I'm looking forward to boxing in other places. You know, in my future career. You know, hopefully, you know, I can take, you know, the Sheffield people on a bit of a journey. You know, hopefully one day box overseas. You know, that'd be a dream come true. You know, imagine boxing in like America and places like that. So that'd be an experience. But yeah, it's obviously there's no place like home. You know that's what they say.
Yeah. Let's talk a bit about obviously your last fight. You obviously came up short in against was it Rosendo Guarneros?
Guarneros.
Yeah, Guarneros. Yeah.
My friend Guarneros.
Yeah. Really, two very, very good fights. Two tough fights. How much have you learned from those two fights, and how much experience have you gained from those fights going into this fight coming up?
Do you know what? I think I'd say it shaped me so much. You know, both them fights. It shaped me as a fighter and probably just as a person in general. You know, I think we all we all have certain tests and things, and it's about coming through them and about taking good things and learning lessons, and I think ultimately that makes you better moving forward. And I just think the two fights with Guarneros, the first one with the injury during the fight, that weren't ideal, and I had to show, I had to tick a few boxes, which I think I did, is in just trying to figure out what I was going to do. It's not every day you get injured during a fight, with an injury like that. So you have to it kind of ask questions of yourself, and I think I had to answer a few questions about myself in that fight, which I think I did. And then moving on to the last fight, a lot of a lot of frustration, looking back. Obviously we went in with the game plan of just boxing and moving and frustrating him, and we definitely did that, and in the end probably did a little bit too much of that. I think hindsight's a great thing, and I still believe that I did get that fight, and that I won it, and it's weird when you talk about like perspective, because you after the fight I was talking to people that were in different places in the arena, and some were saying we thought you got it by 2 or 3 rounds, and then other people were saying that maybe they thought that he just nicked it. So I think on the night, depending where you were in the arena, it was like watching a different fight. And obviously one of the judges went for me by 2 or 3 rounds, and the other two just picked him. So split decision. And during the fight, I think I in our mind and in Glenn's mind, and through what he was telling me in the corner, we thought we were getting the rounds, but maybe the rounds were being scored a lot closer than we thought. Maybe some rounds were that tight that they were just going the other way in the judges' eyes. So when it came to round going out for rounds 10, 11 and 12, we were thinking we got it in the bank. So basically we were just kind of seeing the fight out. But then if it's a close fight in the judges, and you're not really putting your foot down in the championship rounds, as they call them, you're going to have a chance of actually losing the fight, and that's exactly what I did. So if anything, it's just taught me a lesson. It's taught me a lesson that you can't leave it in the hands of the judges, and you can't think that you've got rounds in the bank and all you've got to do is just see the fight out. Because I think when you're boxing it at the level that I'm boxing at, you've got to cement it, and if you don't cement it and you leave it to the judges, there's a chance it could go the other way, and that's what it did. So it's taught me a lesson, and I'm just hoping that one day that's going to be a valuable lesson, and it's going to get me over the line one day in a very important fight. Yeah.
Well, who knows? I might get you over the line for the British flyweight title. Who knows?
Exactly. Who knows? It's 100% taught me a lesson. You can't leave anything to chance in this game. And even even if you think you've got the rounds in the bank, you've still got to go out, put your foot down, and really, really cement it. You know, basically, if you're not going to get the guy out of there, you've got to do everything but that. You know, you can't leave it. You can't leave any. You just can't leave it to chance. You know.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a bit about the British title. A lot of fighters who've won the British title and then gone on to win world titles have said the British title is just as good as winning the world title. What do you think of that? What do you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm unbelievably excited to be boxing for this belt. You know, this is something that you know, you always see the British title as a kid. You know, it's the one belt that stands out. I think it's just such a beautiful belt and such a prestigious and like historic belt. You know, and it dates all the way back, you know, to like the early 1900s. So it's just a very, very prestigious belt to get. And you know, everyone dreams of being a world champion, but if you're a British fighter, you know, if you've got a chance to pick up a Lonsdale belt on the way, that's a massive box ticked. And I'm just very, very happy and excited that I've got, you know, the chance to get it. And not only that, but I've done my research, and I'll be Sheffield's first ever British flyweight champion.
Wow!
So that's making history, you know. So that's that's history. That it's brilliant, that, isn't it? You know. So that's got me excited. So I'm sure
I'm sure that gives you more of an incentive to go out there and make history now. After hearing that, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. It does.
More.
Yeah, it does, and it's not extra pressure or anything like that. Like you said, it's just that extra motivation. You know, that's what I want to do. I want to make history, and you know, it's going to be great for me and my family and the gym. So it's just very, very exciting, you know, and I can't wait, and I'm very grateful to get this opportunity as well. And you know, a massive thank you to my team, you know, Dennis Hobson and Steve Crump, my co-managers and Fight Academy. I mean, how many fighters get a British title fight coming off back-to-back losses? You know, two back-to-back losses, and you know, people can say what they want. You can say, oh, you know, you lost to an injury, and then that last one split decision. This, but at the end of the day, when you look at my record, I'm coming off two back-to-back losses, so I'm just very, very grateful to them. And you know, as I was saying to Dennis the other day, I want to pay him back by winning, and by winning in style, and proving how good I am, because I just don't. You know, although I've had very good performances in the past and I've won titles, I think I know that, you know, the best hasn't come out of me yet, and I just think that on a certain night, when I can do when everything comes together and I can get to show what I can do all around the board and mix everything up, you know, I think that's when a special performance is going to come. And I've got a feeling it's going to be 18th of September. So yeah.
Brilliant. Let's talk a bit about you. Obviously, you mentioned Dennis Dobson, fantastic promoter and manager you got there. Obviously, you talked about Fight Academy. You're going to be fighting on Fightzone. How big a platform are these for up and coming fighters who don't have the backing of the Eddie Hearns and the Frank Warrens and so on?
It's I think you know, especially as of late, when they've launched Fightzone, I just think it's a brilliant platform. You know, and they've been putting shows on pretty much every week for the past, I don't even know how long, you know, the past 2 or 3 months at least now. And these shows are going all around the country. You know, they're working with different promoters, different managers, putting their guys on, and these are guys that, especially during the past 18 months during this pandemic, they wouldn't have been getting out, you know, unless they were signed with Frank Warren or Eddie Hearn. They wouldn't have been getting out, because obviously Frank and Eddie, they're going to be looking after the guys that are signed to them. which obviously you would do. So if I just think it is great because it's getting fighters work, it's getting fighters exposure, and it's another platform for boxing fans to watch boxing on, and it's like $4.99 a month.
Yeah.
It's more than value for money. There's a show every week all over the country. So I just think it's great all around. It's great for the fighters. It's great for the boxing fans. And obviously with Dennis, it's brilliant for me because being, I wasn't a standout amateur. I wasn't a GB boxer or didn't go to the Olympics or anything like that. So, turning pro, I wasn't going to get snapped up by Eddie or Frank. But I'm just very fortunate that I've known Dennis a long time. Obviously, being from Sheffield, and it's just great to be with a Sheffield manager and promoter. And obviously, where if we get to where we think we're going, there's going to be massive fights out there, and there's a big possibility of working with Eddie or Frank. But for me to be with Dennis and start the journey and go all the way with Dennis and Fight Academy, it's very special to me because I don't think you can't buy loyalty, and I'm very big on that. And we're all from Sheffield, and we always said to each other, we're going on a journey. And how special would it be to go through the journey together and then end up winning a world title, which is the ultimate goal. And like I said earlier in this interview, one day maybe boxing abroad in America and things like that. So not only are we going on my boxing journey, but we're making memories. We're making memories together, and hopefully one day we'll make a lot of money together as well. And be able to look after his families and things. That's why we're in the game. So it's the whole setup's great, and I couldn't be happier. And just echoing again, I'm very grateful because they're showing how much they believe in me by delivering me these opportunities. So I've got to pay them back. We always say, they do their job. They get everything in place and set the fights up and these brilliant opportunities. I've got to do my job now. I've got to deliver. I've got to perform, and that's what I'm going to do.
Brilliant. You talked a bit about obviously Sheffield and world titles. Recently had another world champion from Sheffield, Kid Galahad, a couple months ago now, winning the world title. Obviously, you had the likes of before that, Kell Brook, Johnny Nelson as well from boxing Sheffield. How much obviously of a motivation does that give you to one day replicate what they've achieved in their career and go on to one day win a world title yourself?
Yeah, well, Sheffield's always been is just like a massive conveyor belt for champions. Sheffield always has been, and obviously the Ingung Gym's famous in Sheffield, and going back to the days of Harold Bomber Graham, going back to them days, they were big superstars coming out of Sheffield, and it's just obviously I've won titles. I've won a Commonwealth title, and boxing for a British title and hopefully making some history there. So I'm already representing Sheffield, but to join the names of world champions, like obviously most recently, Kid Galahad, congratulations to him. For hopefully for me to join that long list one day, being a world champion from Sheffield, it's carrying on that history, because one day, people are going to be looking through history books at all world champions, and Sheffield will just keep popping up all the way down that list. Even from Sheffield. So hopefully they're going to get down that list, and Sheffield and Tommy Frank's going to be there one day. But like I said about selling tickets and stuff and people coming to support you in your own backyard, just fills you with pride. It really does fill you with pride. And I've always said, I'm very, very proud of Sheffield, and I'm very I'm not. I always say, there's no people like Sheffield and like Yorkshire people. Just for it's hard to explain. I mean, where are you from?
I'm from London. I'm from London.
Yeah. Because it's like, have you ever been up Yorkshire and Sheffield?
No, I never. One day, hopefully, I get to come up here. Maybe I'll get to come up for a Fightzone fight. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll make that possible. But when you come up, you'll see about Sheffield and Yorkshire people. They're the nicest people on planet. And I'm not like loud or brash or anything like that. I'm just I'm from a working class family, and that's what you get up here. Just working class people. They work hard. They like to have a laugh and support each other, and they support their own. And I really feel, supported in Sheffield. So, hopefully I can just add to that Sheffield boxing history. Yeah.
Tommy, you mentioned obviously one day fighting in big fights. I want to talk a bit about some opponents you could potentially fight in your division, and I want to ask you a question. If you could potentially pick an opponent, who would it be, and why? So I'm gonna go through a list of names of opponents you could potentially one day face, and you got the likes of Juan Reveco, you got the likes of Joel Cordova, Mohamed Wasim, who's a decent, highly ranked as well, Angel Costa, Ricardo Sandoval, and obviously Guarneros again. If you do go on to fight him in a trilogy, if you could pick one of these fighters to one day fight in the future, who would it be?
What about Sonny? Isn't Sonny Edwards on that?
I was going to mention Sonny, but
he's the IBF champion.
Yeah, I know. I was going to mention him, but I was going to ask about these guys first. The reason why I say that because they're ranked in the top 20, and obviously if you,
I get you. Okay, yeah. Well, you mentioned is it Ricardo Sandoval, the guy who boxed Jay Harris?
Yeah, that's correct.
I watched that fight. He looks like a good fighter. Is he from America? Is he?
Yeah, I think he's from California. Yeah, I think he's from California.
Yeah. So I watched that fight, and Jay's a very good fighter. He's a fighter that I really respect, and I thought that Sandoval looked like a good fighter. To be fair, I hadn't actually seen him before that, but I was really impressed with him on that fight. So I'm sure that'd be a good fight one day. I'm sure our styles would complement each other. Mohamed Wasim, I haven't seen too much of him. Did he box? Has he boxed for a world title already?
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he come up short for a world title.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I haven't actually seen him box, but I have heard his name, so I've heard he's a good fighter. So I think he'd probably be one to watch out for. But I mean, especially now, it's brilliant for flyweights because not often do flyweights get a lot of coverage, and not often do they make a lot of money. And I think especially in this next couple of years, there's some really good fights to be made, and it's brilliant because again, it's brilliant for boxing fans because you want to see good fights. I think you always get good fights with flyweights because we're fast. If a certain flyweight can punch a little bit, that's always good. That's always exciting. So it's good. It's good for boxing fans to watch, and it's good for us because we get a chance to test ourselves against good other good fighters, and hopefully make a bit of dough as well, which you don't always get at them lower weights. So it's brilliant. I'm very excited, and I've got to make sure that I keep winning and keep proving myself, and hopefully I can be involved in all that mix.
Yeah, 100%. It's a flyweight division's on the up. I want to say something, but because you just mentioned obviously about flyweights getting coverage where they wouldn't get coverage before, fighting bigger fights now, and obviously channels giving them more coverage in terms of putting a name out there on the world scene. We've done a few interviews with flyweights.
Like you, so thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I mean, we had a compliment from the world champion himself, Sonny Edwards, about basically giving the flyweight division a spotlight, chance for you fighters to come out and talk, a chance for viewers and boxing fans to know a bit more about you guys and up and coming fights. So I'm glad that we as a channel get to do this and talk to people like you and put the flyweight division back on the map because, like you said, it's on the up. you fight. Think about the flyweight division. You fight regularly as well. You get out quite more than you would with heavyweights. You get out maybe 2-3 times a year, maybe sometimes. So it's good to see that the flyweight division coming up now.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, and I think you know, a lot of fighters, a lot of boxing, not boxing fans, but just, you know, just people that watch boxing. You know, I think your true hardcore boxing fans, they appreciate the flyweights and super flyweights and the lower divisions. But I think the average, you know, man on the street doesn't really. They tend to look at your Anthony Joshua's and your Usyk, you know, your heavyweights or your middleweights. But I think a lot of great fighters sometimes overlooked. You know, great fighters in history. You know, I was watching Ricardo Lopez other day. Just a brilliant flyweight, just a brilliant technical boxer who could bang. And when you're watching his fights, it's like, what more could you want in a fight? Because, you know, they throw in like hundreds of punches around and you know, things like that, and you know, knocking guys out to body and, you know, like one punch knockouts. It's got everything you want, like in an heavyweight fight, and these are flyweights. And I think there were another guy, and I actually exchanged a few messages with him on Instagram, called Paul Weir. And he was the I think he was like strawweight and then light flyweight WBO world champion. You know, and I kind of came across a couple of his fights on YouTube, and he was a great fighter, you know. And I watched a few of his fights. I watched one of his interviews, and then I followed him on Instagram, and you know, I gave him a message just saying, you know, I've you know, become a fan of yours, watching a few fights, and you know, to be fair to him, you know, he messaged me back. He said thank you, and you know, I'll you know, look out for you and stuff. So I think you know, that's a former. You know, I think he was maybe a 2-time world champion.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of these guys don't get the credit that they deserve, you know, because they were in the smaller weight classes. But, you know, hopefully we're coming to a bit of a turning point, you know, and like I said, you know, maybe this next 2, 3, 4 years, there's some really like mouth-watering clashes to be made, and maybe that's just going to shine that spotlight on the flyweight division. And again, that's just brilliant for everyone. So yeah.
The fight we mentioned just a minute ago, who's put the flyweight division on the map, especially in Britain, is Sonny Edwards, IBF world champion. He's fighting next week against, he's defending his title against Jason Mama. How do you see that fight going?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't watched Jason Mama. I come across like I'm not a boxing fan, but I really am. I'll be honest. I spend my days watching like Roberto Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard and Sugar Ray Robinson. I probably should look into more recent fights, especially in my own category, you know, and actually study them fighters. But I haven't seen this Jason Mama. Obviously, I know what Sonny's all about. And he's a great fighter, and I mean, I'm sure he'll come through it. You know, this is I think is it a mandatory defense?
Yeah, I think it is a mandatory defense. Yeah.
So at the level he's a world champion now, there's not going to be no gimme fights anymore. You know, and obviously he knows that, but I'm sure he's got all the skills in his arsenal to come through whatever Mama presents. So you know, I'm backing Sonny.
Yeah. Would you potentially like to fight one day, Sonny, for what title? Big British domestic scrap.
Yeah, of course I would, 100%. You know, and like I said, he's the man right now. He's got the IBF flyweight world title, and that's what every flyweight on the planet wants. So he's got, you know, he's got that target on his back. You know, for me, again, you know, looking back on the last fight, you know, it was for the IBF Intercontinental and things like that, and you know, they got us both on one of the Fightzone shows before, you know, and we had a little chat and things. So I suppose everything were kind of building up to us maybe meeting in the not so distant future. Obviously, I messed that up by losing my last fight, didn't I? So, you know, I've you know gone back, and you know Son is a world champion, so he's more than a few steps ahead of me right now. But as a flyweight, like I said, I'm boxing for a British title. But you know, in my next fight after that, you know, if I get another ranking title, I'm straight back up there in that mix, and you know that hopefully that's the plan moving forward. So, you know, it's still a big domestic fight in the future to have, and you know, obviously I'd want that, and I think it'd be brilliant. I think people would be really excited and interested in it. And hopefully in the not too distant future that can happen. You know, I've got a bit of catching up to do, which I'm gonna do, and hopefully, you know, Sonny keeps his title and he keeps winning and keeps performing, and then everything's just brewing nicely, and hopefully one day we can get it on, and I'm sure it'll be a great fight.
Yeah, that'd be amazing to see. Really would. I want to talk a bit about on the weekend that's gone. Obviously, Frank Warren had a show on in Birmingham. He had the two super flyweights fighting for the British title, and that was Casey Kademi versus Ijaz Ahmed. Obviously, it was a split decision draw. Did you watch that fight? And if you did watch it, what did you make of the fight?
I didn't watch the fight. But I was scrolling through YouTube earlier, and I think the fight's on, so I might get a watch. But obviously, they're very well matched. You know, because I think the first fight were maybe a split decision, and obviously Ahmed won, and then the last fight a draw. So they must be very well matched. It must have been a very good fight. So like I said, I can't comment on who I thought got it or whatever. I didn't watch it, but I'm sure they'll be having a third fight. So you know, I'll probably tune into that. You know, because everything points, you know, towards it being a really good fight. So yeah.
Yeah, hopefully this time it'll be on BT Sport Live, because on the weekend it wasn't live, unfortunately. So.
Oh, were it not? Well, that's probably why I missed it. Cause I did watch the box, and I watched all of them except the main event. It was getting a bit late, and I'm normally like my eyes are closing at like 9:30. So, but yeah, were it not live? Were it? No.
Unfortunately, that fight wasn't live. There's two fights wasn't live, and that was one of them. Unfortunately, wasn't live. So, which was a shame, because for me, I think it was the fight of the night. But hopefully, the trilogy, it'll be live on BT Sport.
Yeah, well, like I said, I think the fight's on YouTube now, so I might have to have a look at that, and I'll definitely watch the third fight. Hopefully, if they get it on for a third time, yeah. So good luck to both of them.
Brilliant, Tommy. Have you got a quick message for your fans leading up to this fight on the 18th of September before I let you go?
Thank you. You know, everyone for supporting me and for being so supportive, especially after my last couple of fights. And you know, thanks for buying your tickets and, you know, coming to support me. It's going to be another great night. Not just boxing, but Sheffield boxing, you know, and we're the back indoors now at Ponds Forge, which is another. You know, I love Ponds Forge. I think it's a great venue. Some big fights have happened at Ponds Forge. You know, we actually, I went to, well, Glenn kind of hosted it, but we did an evening with Steve Collins like 2 weeks ago in Sheffield, and that was brilliant. You know, I got to spend like an afternoon / evening, you know, with Steve Collins, just talking to him, listening to stories and bits of advice, and it were absolutely brilliant. I didn't actually know, but he won his first world title at Ponds Forge in Sheffield against Chris Pyatt, who was another great fighter, and I didn't know that. You know, so it's you know, Ponds Forge has always hosted great fights. You know, Clinton Woods as headline there. So it's it's a great Sheffield venue, and you know, hopefully 18th of September it's going to be another great night for Ponds Forge, for Sheffield, and for me.
Brilliant, Tommy. Absolute pleasure talking to you. I'm really looking forward to watching your fight. I'm looking forward to. It's going to be a great fight going for the British title. And thanks for taking the time to join me, and good luck for that fight.
Nice one. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, mate. You're welcome. Take care now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.